West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
Seven a.m. in the Mile High City on this Monday, August 11th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Coming up after news and comment with Blake Olson, we're going to talk with Jen Schumann and Heidi Ganahl of Rocky Mountain Voice. Fascinating three-part series all about the weaponization of government inspections here in Colorado in an effort to rid the state of the oil and gas industry. Jared Polis saying directly to one of the owners of an oil and gas company, I want you and your industry out of business. And he's using the regulatory state. He's using inspections. He's throwing a tremendous amount of burdens on these oil and gas industry companies to the point where they're going, look, we don't even drill anymore. All we do is respond to these regulations constantly coming down on us, and it's all intentional, and it's all an effort to kill off the oil and gas industry. Has the curtain been pulled back on what Jared Polis is really trying to do in the state of Colorado? We're going to talk with Rocky Mountain Voice coming up here in just a moment. A little bit later, we're going to talk with Dr. Ashley Graves of Alternative Pregnancy Center. We're going to get a chance to, or folks will have a chance to play golf maybe with Tim Tebow, which is very, very cool. So you're not going to want to miss that. And then Hugo Chavez-Ray in the 9 o'clock hour. So lots to talk about today, but now it's time for News and Comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, News and Comment.
Good Monday morning, 57 and sunny, expecting a high of 84 today. This portion of the news sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, DJT with the news conference today, and he'll not only talk about ending crime, murder, and death in the nation's capital, but he will also discuss cleanliness and the general physical renovation and condition of what 47 says is, quote, our once beautiful and well-maintained capital, end of quote. They'll also be moving out homeless people and will give them a place to stay if they'd like. A man is facing charges in Aurora after a crash that killed a woman in a wheelchair. Police say the 47-year-old woman died on August 3rd while trying to cross East Colfax near the 225 on-ramp. 27-year-old Jahandri de los Santos Ruiz turned himself in at the Aurora PD on Thursday night. He's being held for suspicion of leaving the scene of an accident involving death, though additional charges are expected. There was a deadly motorcycle crash last night near the intersection of East Hampden and South Yosemite. Multiple vehicles involved. A motorcycle rider was pronounced dead at the scene. DPD investigating that. Alaska will be the site on Friday where DJT is scheduled to meet with Putin. The little pocket-sized Ukrainian President Zelensky may also attend. We'll see. We'll see what he tries to do, if he tries to flex his muscle and mouth off again. Hopefully they can bring an end to this horrific war.
So Alaska's wild, and I brought this up briefly with John Decker, White House correspondent, when we talked with him. There's still a missing congressman from the 70s up there that they've never found. Thomas Hale Boggs was the House Majority Leader And he was flying in an airplane, and the whole airplane disappeared, and they never found him. It's wild. If you want to go down a rabbit hole on podcasts, whatever happened to the congressman, there's he was part of the Warren Commission. There's connections to the mob. All that stuff. His plane just disappeared. They never found it.
Wasn't this the guy that Clinton drove to the airport? Or is that a different guy?
I think this was 73. I don't know how old Clinton was in 73, but
he was like an intern or whatever.
Really?
Yes. I think it could be a different guy in the Warren Commission, but who knows?
People dying all around him.
Yeah, man. In Alaska, I could see how you'd never find him again, no doubt.
But I mean, they've done like the trolling with the submarines and all. Dude just disappeared. So it's wild they're doing it in Alaska. Because you can see Russia from parts of Alaska.
You bet. I wonder who said that.
Sarah Palin.
Oh, man, I loved her. We may see indictments this week to swamp creatures Comey, Brennan, and Clapper, lizards who lie when they wake up every morning. And they tried to pull off a coup on DJT in 2016. Well, all the Russiagate stuff. And Sam Antar talking Tisha James, the commie who tried to put DJT in jail. She's facing 30 years for mortgage fraud. Let's go.
Every single financial disclosure to New York State as far back as 2019 contains false information with her signature on it. Every single mortgage on her property in Brooklyn from when she purchased it contains false information. The Virginia property, which she claims like the power of attorney that she signed was a mistake, whatever, implicates her. Okay. The situation that she has is she put pen to paper. I didn't. Donald Trump didn't. MAGA didn't do it. You didn't do it. She owns this fraud. She did it.
Yes, she did. Couldn't happen to a worse person. And J.D. Vance talking about numerous subjects on a couple of Sunday shows. The freak Tim Walz was on his mind, a guy who's probably a Chinese spy.
While the Biden DOJ was trying to throw Donald Trump in prison on fake charges, they were also aware that Tim Walz had all these connections to the Communist Chinese Party and did nothing about it. And I think all of us who followed that election closely, obviously I followed it very closely, recognize, okay, so you have a guy who's governor of Minnesota, is a high school teacher, has no reason to go to China. Like, okay, maybe once you go on vacation, but you go over 20 times over a period of years. Like, there's something weird going on there. And it seems like the Biden Department of Homeland Security actually flagged this guy as a potential security threat for his connections to the PRC. And he's not just some random guy living in Minnesota. He's the governor, and he was the potential vice president of the United States. I think in so many ways, literally and figuratively, we dodged a bullet in that election. Just amazing.
No doubt. 5 journalists working for Al Jazeera are dead, killed on Sunday by an Israeli airstrike. Jody Ginsburg with the Committee to Protect Journalists.
Journalists are civilians and should never be targeted in war, and they must cease and desist. We also need to see far greater action from the international community.
Israel claims one of those killed was actually working with Hamas, while Al Jazeera says the strike was a targeted attack on the media in Gaza City. Let's see, NASCAR driver, we talked about this earlier, Connor Zilic, he wins the race in Watkins Glen International. He gets on top of the car like they always do, but he trips while he's up there and falls, breaks his collarbone. Thankfully, he is okay and out of the hospital, but he does have a broken collarbone. Right? We had football over the weekend, and the Broncos win preseason game number 1 against the Niners, 30-9. Bo Nix, 6 of 11, 31 yards. Played, a quarter or a couple of possessions. Friday, Shadur Sanders, great debut with the Browns. 14 of 23, 138 yards, 2 touchdowns, completed 61% of his passes. And tough to top that. He avoided pressure 2 or 3 times. Got to keep working. And who knows? Maybe he'll find his way into the starting lineup before the end of the season. Never know. Cam Little kicks a record-setting 70-yard field goal for Jacksonville. The Rockies are still playing baseball. They've lost their 7th straight. Sunday they did that, 13-6 to the Diamondbacks. They lose, and the Cardinals tonight on the road, 5:45 first pitch. 54 in Parker, 55 in Lakewood, 57 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue on this Monday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The Denver forecast is early Monday. A few clouds this morning, temperatures in the mid-50s by daybreak. Then for the rest of your Monday, sunny skies, highs around 85. Overnight lows down to 60. Tuesday, highs around 90 with mostly sunny skies. Weather brought to you by L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. That's bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. I'm day weather meteorologist Patrice Sutter in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Coming from the Rocky Mountain Voice. If you go to RockyMountainVoice.com, you can catch up on everything that they're covering. But I want to talk about a 3-part piece put together by Jen Schumann, Heidi Ganahl, on how the regulatory aspect of the oil and gas industry, the environmentalists, Jared Polis, even county commissioners, have weaponized this to shut down the entire industry. Like the mask is off. The veneer's off right now. Democrats and local leaders, statewide leaders as well, are utilizing the regulatory aspect of oil and gas to shut it down. And it's a wild 3-part piece that gets into how county commissioners are using this, how the state is using this. They're using bond requirements. I mean, these oil and gas people are opening up their emails to 50 regulatory issues a day that they've got to cover. At one point, an oil and gas industry person saying, basically, we don't even drill for oil and gas anymore. We're just responding to this regulatory overreach every single day. It's a great piece. And joining the Jeff and Bill Show now, authors of that piece, Jen Schumann, and founder of Rocky Mountain Voice, Heidi Ganahl. Good morning. Thank you for taking time to join us.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Hope all is well with you. Hope you had a great weekend.
We're back at it today and grateful for your reporting. So let's dive into it. Maybe I'll start with you, Jen Schumann. Tell us, I gave a little bit of an overview, but you have a 3-part detailed analysis of what the state is doing to oil and gas companies. Give us some insight.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for having us, and good morning to both of you. And good morning, Heidi. Basically, it's the story of how an unelected state commission has used obscure rules and shifting targets to go after a family-owned private oil business that's operated in Colorado since 1984. And I think it's really important to realize how this could happen to anyone. If you could spend $15 million of your own money to just try to fight all the regulation, to fight all the targeting. This could really happen in any industry in Colorado, but especially in oil and gas, because we have a history of Polis being very anti-oil and gas, and he's got a state legislature and he's got a state commission with the ECMC that do his bidding.
Let's start first with piece number 1. You call it the Rule 211 gamble, how 2 towns used Colorado law to effectively shut down an oil company's core assets. I loved how you laid this out in 3 different pieces, ending with Jared Polis. But let's start first with these particular counties and Rule 211. Tell us what this is about.
Sure. So Rule 211 it's traditionally used by the ECMC, where local governments can also bring forward a complaint, but it's where you would ask for an oil well to be plugged, abandoned, if it has been abandoned, if it's not operating, or if it poses some type of danger to the public health, safety, or welfare, or the environment, or the wildlife. And they use this as a premise to go after KPK. They filed a complaint in September 2024. This has been an ongoing matter, and it was just recently decided on June 26th of 2025. The ECMC decided that out of the 45 wells that the towns of Decano and Frederick wanted KPK to shut down, the ECMC ruled yes to 3 wells.
Now, the ECMC is the Energy and Carbon Management Commission, and it's supposed to be a check on out-of-control oil and gas. So if they're out there just poisoning stuff and lighting things on fire and destroying communities, well, you have this commission, the Energy and Carbon Management Commission, that's supposed to come in and represent the interests of people. But what you've seen and what you detail is that they take this rule, and this rule is 211, which is if you have a major problem, the ECMC, the Energy and Carbon Management Commission, can come in and go, hold on, we need to plug the well, guys. Things are out of control. Hold on, we need to shut it down. And instead, what they're doing is going, well, we got some housing developers here. And these developers would like the land this well's on. Lo and behold, we're going to shut down your well and hand it to the developers so that they can build homes. Heidi Ganahl, I want to bring you in on this. That was my read from this piece, is that essentially what they're taking what should be a traditional land dispute, and that happens all the time, and siding with industries they like against industries they don't like, and using a rule that was never intended in the first place to do so. Heidi Ganahl, your thoughts?
Yeah, Jeff. I mean, this is about more than oil and gas. It's about whether Colorado is a state where the rules are applied evenly or where the government decides who wins and loses. And we know very well that Jared Polis and the Democrats want the oil and gas industry, one of our most important industries that fuels schools and roads and all kinds of great services for Coloradans, and overall tries to do the right thing around the environment. They want them out of business. In fact, Jared Polis, Jen quotes him in this piece. He says, I want you and your industry out of business, starting with you, to Kevin, to KPK, which is insane. I mean, I can't believe a governor would say that about one of our most important industries. You've seen this with the ag industry, too. It's just, it's Jared Polis 101.
That's Heidi Ganahl, as well as Jen Schumann, and Jen, or Schumann, my apologies. Jen, I want to talk to you about Jeffrey Kaufman. Sorry, I got 3 names rolling around in my head right now. Because Jeffrey becomes the centerpiece of this 3-part series that you have done in Rocky Mountain Voice. Go to RockyMountainVoice.com to read it, and it's a great investigative piece. But it centers around Jeffrey Kaufman, this guy with a really strong reputation. I mean, they've named a day after him. The mayor of Denver has named a day after him for all the good contributions he's made to this community. And he and Jared Polis have just decided to go right at each other. And it seems to be more on Jared Polis' side. Jared Polis doesn't like the oil and gas industry, and he wants to ruin Jeffrey Kaufman. Tell us about this.
Yeah, so one thing I would point out is that Jeffrey Kaufman is actually Kevin's son, who has worked with his father, Kevin, ever since he began. I've seen a picture in Kevin's office of Jeffrey when he was a toddler on a rig with Kevin Kaufman, and they're both brilliant men. And Kevin Kaufman, I didn't realize when I first started talking to him just how much of a not only a prominent businessman he's been in the Colorado community statewide, but how much he's done to give back for the state. And one really touching story about Kevin is that he's been a lifetime aviator, and he reached a milestone in his life when he turned 50, and he decided he wanted to do something that felt real, that I think that he wanted to personally see the impact of doing something to give back to the state, to the community, do something for his family with the responsibility of what he gained in life. And he decided to be a medevac pilot. And one of the stories that's not in part 3, which focuses on who Kevin Kaufman is as a man, is that he's got a lot of health issues with his heart going back to an injury in, I believe, 1997 due to a dental procedure that led to a heart situation. And he was getting care from a nurse in Denver, and this nurse mentioned that her father was dying, and that all he wanted to do was get home to Pagosa Springs. Well, Kevin personally flew him home, and he said that he's a Vietnam vet, and just the exchange of being able to help someone firsthand have his dying wish of being home and for his last moments on Earth. Another very touching story is when he flew a little girl who had some type of cancer, and they were flying to Salt Lake City, and he was flying through a storm. And so, it's a dangerous situation when you're flying through a storm. And the nurse was panicking in the back, and she's saying, "We need to land right now." And he basically said, if I die, we all die. And he said he kind of snapped at her about it. But when he landed and he's, getting his plane power down, he turned around and noticed that the little girl had passed away. And he said that he left the plane and he went and sat down on a bench and started crying. And that was the moment when he decided, after about 50 different flights, performing this service to people in their greatest hour of need, that was the end of that. It was just, it's so heart-wrenching to hear little moments of where I got to see an insight into the character of this man and what he's done for the state of Colorado and so many people. And it just boggles my mind that a governor who I really tried to find instances where he's done good things for the people of Colorado, but has targeted someone who really has.
Yeah, the sense you get from your piece is that Kevin Kaufman has devoted his life to building a company, to serving his community. And then you have these environmentalists, these radical environmentalists that are hell-bent on destroying the oil and gas industry, that they specifically set up all of these regulations, all these problems. Talk about how there's evidence out there, and Kevin Kaufman is now suing Jared Polis and others, or at least the regulatory industry here in Colorado on this, but that this is all done with intention, that they're specifically coming up with problems that these guys apparently have. They're have all these regulations that they've put on them, that they're just gumming up the system in an effort to attack this company because they don't like oil and gas in particular.
Sure. So I talked to a couple of people who work for KPK, and they talked about how the culture before the COGCC was rebranded as ECMC, how the relationship was more of a partnership to do oil and gas right. There were people in the COGCC before it became the ECMC who were oil and gas experts, and that was the focus of that state commission. And then it rebranded in, I believe, 2023, and its mission focus changed. It had a climate change focus after 2023. And of course, Polis is in power, and we've got plenty of evidence that he's guiding this. And going back even to, I don't know if you've seen Rocky Mountain Heist, and different reports from years and years ago where Jared Polis, he saw an oil rig in the landscape of where he lived and thought, well, that just destroys his visual ability to enjoy living where he lives. And so you have that going back, I don't know how many years, but all along the way, you have evidence of Jared Polis helping state government, guiding this energy commission that got rebranded to phase the oil and gas industry out and our state's dependence on it. And that's a quote from a letter that he wrote to the ECMC chair, Jeff Robbins, last summer. And you have a ballot initiative that failed. The people of Colorado rejected it. And what it ended up turning into was Senate Bill 19181 that got pushed through. And that started, I think, the warfare against the warfare against the oil and gas industry, where you have setbacks and rules, and it's just been something that's empowered in the ECMC to create as many rules as possible to make it. I don't even know how oil and gas producers in Colorado do business. And one other thing I would point out is that multiple producers have reached out to us, and we've talked to multiple producers. One of them has said that there are a lot of producers who will not do business in Colorado now, who are phasing out their business in Colorado because of the regulatory environment that we now face here.
And in some cases, you talk about how regulators will show up and go, oh, whoa, look, there's a little oil on the ground right there. You guys need to clean it up. And if they did, the Army Corps of Engineers would find that a violation because there's a pond there. And so even trying to clean it up puts these oil and gas industry folks in violation of some federal law. So it's almost like they're goading them into violating as many rules as they can. And this is where I want to bring in Heidi Ganahl, because let's just pull back and do like a similar analysis. We know conservatives, for the most part, I agree with Donald Trump. I don't like windmills. I think they're ugly, right? But this isn't just us going and saying, well, we're not going to subsidize wind energy anymore. This would be us showing up at the windmill manufacturing plant and going, oh, there's a violation there, there's a violation here, there's a violation there. We're going to have to shut you guys all down. The coffee is not warm enough. I mean, it's like these guys are showing up and nitpicking anything they possibly can, motivated to try to shut down the oil and gas industry. This isn't about environmentalism. This isn't about clean energy. This isn't about equal playing field for all the different energy types. They are motivated to kill this industry, and they show up where they're doing work, nitpick over any type of possible violation, and it's just destroying oil and gas. Your thoughts, Heidi Ganahl?
Well, Jeff, since February of 2023, the agency has hit KPK with more than 50 notices of alleged violations a month, sometimes for nothing more than paperwork timing. And they've given Chevron a pass after a blowout that injured a worker and displaced residents. And I think this goes to being able to control the bigger companies. And if they can put out of business the smaller independent companies, that's in line with the governor's directive to continue the state's transition away from oil and gas dependence. And it really, you can feel it even in the restaurant industry here in Colorado. All the mom and pop businesses you see, I think there were 4 or 5 different amazing restaurants that have been in Colorado for a long time that were noted in the Denver Post and the various Denver publications over the weekend that have gone out of business. And you see more and more of the franchises popping up. It's because they're the only ones that can survive. They have the lobbyists. They have the big money to go up against these regulations and do things the way Jared Polis and his Democrats want done. And this goes to what's changed fundamentally in Colorado since the Democrats flipped it 20 years ago. We are no longer the wild, wild west, the new frontier, the old Colorado, the entrepreneurial spirit. We are the nanny state. And bureaucracy has grown insanely big. I'm so irritated that they get away with this. And that's why we started the Rocky Mountain Voice. And Jen, this is one of many articles and pieces Jen and our team has done to try and wake people up to what's really happening in Colorado rather than what the liberal media wants you to, doze away in la-la land and believe about our state. And Jeff, you and Bill are actually doing the same. So we appreciate that. That's why we're here talking about this on your show.
That's Jen Schumann and Heidi Ganahl, Rocky Mountain Voice. Jen Schumann's got a great piece out, 3-part series on how Jared Polis, Democrats have targeted a particular oil company in an effort to try to take it down. It's one of the biggest companies. It's done a great job, but it's not the biggest. It's not these big multinational corporations, but it's all driven by this agenda to kill off oil and gas. Now, Heidi, Jen, I'm going to take the devil's advocate side on this, okay? Jared Polis duly elected, right? He's reflecting the will of the people. The people of Colorado, they don't like oil and gas. They want to see everything green. 2040, everything green. We're going to shut down dirty coal plants. We're going to shut down dirty fracking. And we're going to be solar-powered, wind-powered. And Jared Polis is the Moses leading the people of Colorado to the promised land of green energy. So isn't he just doing what the people of Colorado want him to do? Your response?
Well, he did say that to Kevin Kaufman, that the people of Colorado do not want oil and gas here. He did say that to a room of oil and gas producers and repeated that he's going to put them all out of business. But I myself and lots of people I know, I'm a third generation oil and gas daughter who I'm here because of oil and gas. I had to leave the state for a year because of the state going to become trying to become a green energy state. I've lost tens of thousands of dollars when I was a young mom because of the war on energy in our state. I do not want that personally. I do not want a green energy state. I do not want oil and gas phased out in our state. We need Trump's executive order declaring our energy a national emergency. I believe that that is the case. We do not need to depend on foreign oil. We have plenty of it here, and we have some of the greatest opportunities to produce gas, oil and gas in Colorado. I think, is it second in the world? I never say it right, the Pence Basin, the second largest in the world. It might be the nation, but I'm pretty sure it's the world. We have ample opportunity. And another point I would also make about that is when we have these entrepreneurs like Kevin Kaufman producing in our state, that is a huge asset to our communities because you have ad valorem taxes that end up providing local revenue for our local governments. And I see a history of oil and gas and other industries who they are embedded in the communities that they are doing business. They are serving their community and they're philanthropic. They're doing things in the communities. They're building those relationships. They're trying to do good by the people who live there. And so when you try to obliterate an industry the way that this administration has tried to obliterate oil and gas, it impacts not just those company owners and not just their families and not just their employees, but it impacts every Coloradan.
Heidi, your response.
I agree with Jen, and I think we can be an all of the above energy state, and we can do oil and gas well. We do it better than anybody on the planet, so why would we not want to produce it here? Why wouldn't Jared want to celebrate the clean energy that we produce here in Colorado and bring more operators and more jobs and more production here? I don't understand that other than he's part of the climate change cult. I'm on the board of a really cool organization of young conservatives across the country called ACC, or American Conservation Coalition, and they are teaching young people that the way the Democrats have talked about the environment is not the correct way to address these issues. You can go check it out at acc.eco, but Hunter Rivera in Weld County is the lead for Colorado. And I would suggest if you want to see how to do energy right, that organization follows the lead of Chris Wright, our education secretary from Colorado, and Corey Gardner's been part of this group. Like, that's the way to do energy. That's the way to talk to young people about the right way to have clean air, clean land, clean water, which we all want. We want that too, Jared, but we also want thriving communities and a thriving Colorado. And with $1 billion hole in the budget, doing this to an important industry, an important player in the industry, just says it all about what's happened over the last 20 years with the Democrats. It's a disaster.
You're listening to Heidi Ganahl and Jen Schumann from Rocky Mountain Voice on the Jeff and Bill Show. They've got a 3-part series out, authored by Jen, that goes through the plight of KPK, private oil and gas company, here in the state, and some of the challenges they are facing from Governor Polis. One of the things for me that was most shocking, it's in part 3, where Polis turns at one point to the proprietors of KPK and tells them that he wants to drive them and the industry out of the state, and then repeats that in front of a table of oil and gas companies. So many questions there, but that's for a different day. Now, Jen Schumann, Heidi Ganahl, one of the things you outlined in the piece was that Chevron seemed to be being treated a little bit differently than the smaller operator of KPK. Why, in your investigation, do you believe that is? Because at first blush, it seems to me that the bigger, larger company that can write a larger check to possible political donations or to pet causes, to acquiesce pressure from the government, I'm looking at this as kind of a political business doing business, where, of course, you're not going to go after the big, giant provider who has the muscle and the power. You're going to put the tight and the squeeze on the smaller provider, because then you can come out and champion all the stuff that you did to make sure you're fighting oil and gas and the pollution in the state, but you're not really cutting off the hand that can feed you politically. In your investigation, Jen and Heidi, why do you feel that they went after KPK in such a way but then gave a pass to Chevron?
Well, I think that if the state government and this commission succeeds in taking out one small operator, a privately owned one, they can throw all the resources of the state government at a privately owned one, then it sets a precedent. And it's funny because Jeffrey Kaufman, Kevin Kaufman's son, he said, you have to have a team. Another producer has told me this also. You have to have a team that's not actually the oil and gas workers, but a legal team to operate in Colorado. And so I think maybe it was a strategy. This is my opinion, to go after somebody who's privately owned, who doesn't have this massive international legal team to fight on your behalf to operate. They thought maybe this will be a good target to set a precedent and then put all of the oil and gas businesses on notice that if you don't play ball and follow our rules, you'll be out of business too. Because you know what? After all, we've gone on the record and we've already said we're going to phase out oil and gas dependence in our state. And it's just mind-boggling to me that Jared Polis said this to one man and then he repeated it to a full room of people. But I think there's also, they've been building the rules under this new mission at ECMC, and they really wanted to see how far they could go with this company, because if they can go this far with this company, they can start scaling this strategy to do that to everyone else. And they're not the only ones. Yeah. We've had multiple producers talking to us about how difficult it is to even do the business of oil and gas in Colorado.
Yeah, and keep in mind, too, Chevron laid off recently 125 employees in its Denver office. It's leaving as well. And I want to wrap up with just a reminder. The conservative approach generally is all the options above. Yeah, we shouldn't be necessarily subsidizing anybody. Oil and gas, wind, solar, let the marketplace work itself out and allow these different options with regards to energy to compete. What you have here with Jared Polis and with the Democrats is showing up on site and using the regulatory burdens to question, to file complaints and nitpick in every possible way, all to drive down and shut down competing industries. It's remarkable. This is the, quote, libertarian governor. This is the guy that was going to bring wealth and opportunity to Colorado. He is politically motivated. He's agenda-driven, and he's harming families in order to achieve it. It's heartbreaking. Heidi, I'll give you the final word. Heidi Ganahl.
Yeah, Jeff, I think, again, it's just really important to expose these things. We have another series called the COVID Chronicles that actually is going back every couple of weeks and looking at the 2-week period, 5 years ago now, and how Jared Polis and his bureaucrats manhandled us during COVID, and it got kind of shoved under the rug, and there was a lot of corruption. So that's another example of a series on Rocky Mountain Voice where we expose what the government's done to us in Colorado and what Jared Polis has led here. And I think this is part of, what we're passionate about, is telling the truth about what really goes on behind the scenes in this state that the liberal media covers up, that Jared Polis covers up, and that his huge bureaucracy and all those unelected commissions and boards covers up so that they can do things the way their agenda sees fit. So we're really proud of the piece. I'm so proud of Jen and all the work she's done. I'm proud of Kevin for speaking up. It's not easy to take on being truthful about something like this. It's so personal to him. So I'm really excited and proud that I think we've started a new chapter in Colorado where we're going to teach people how things are really operating, and hopefully they'll vote differently at the ballot box because of it.
That's Heidi Ganahl with Rocky Mountain Voice. Heidi, real quick, did you hear from Jared Polis on this? Jen Schumann, did you hear from the governor's office on this piece?
No, we did send out a request for comment, and we have not received any kind of response yet.
Wow. All right. Well, not surprising, but great work from Rocky Mountain Voice. Go to RockyMountainVoice.com, RockyMountainVoice.com. Sign up there. They've got regular emails coming through, some of the greatest journalism and posts taking place there as well. Sure appreciate your time this morning. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Again, that's Jen Schumann and Heidi Ganahl with Rocky Mountain Voice. All right. So, Bill.
Yes.
Wife and I went to Gyrie's.
Yes, you did.
This weekend.
Yeah,
I've never been at Gyrie's before.
Okay. Here's the cool thing, my friend. Now, this is the thing that I was so excited. While the Hunts are going to make this trip to Gyrie's, I got to tell you, here's the thing that makes Gyrie's a little bit different is you've seen those TV shows where they have the home improvements and they have the person that comes in and they do the consultant and they tell you about what to do with your house. Yeah. Normally, you got to get on a TV show in order to get that. But
Correct.
Gyrie's is giving you that type of custom professional service just because you're listening to the Jeff and Bill show. Well,
It's amazing.
They do it for everybody, too, but still. You'll know about it because you listen here. Yeah, Jeff, so tell me about going to see Gyrie's, man.
So I've painted our house, and we've hired people to paint our house before. Those have been my two experiences, right? When I paint my house, I go to a big box store, right?
Yeah,
and they're like, what color paint?
Yeah.
And you're like, this color.
What
and
color?
you walk out with your big things. And
Oh, yeah.
then you go spend days taping and then painting.
Yeah.
And installing blinds, that type of things.
And then the wife comes out and says, you missed that spot, and you got to go back and tape again. And
Or somebody else did it, and I didn't have much to do with it. Gyrie's is amazing because it's a whole nother level of personal service and attention to detail with regards to custom blinds, shades, shutters, paint, window treatments, full room decor. It's amazing. Personalized in-home consultations. They come out to your house. They measure everything. They bring out samples so you can see how the light looks, right? Because light's different. And
wait, you said personalized and in-home.
Yep.
So you contact Gyrie's. You don't go out there. You're not do the thing where you're surfing on the interwebs and you just do the thing of take a picture of your room and then we'll superimpose this over here. No, you got the pro just like they do in the TV shows.
Right.
Coming out to your place, the Jeff Hunt Family Ranch, and looking around and seeing what they do just like they would for our listeners. They'll walk into your home and say, this is how you need to upscale your house.
And you can see how it all looks, and they get the measurements down to a 16th of an inch, so it fits perfectly. Absolutely impressed with the good folks over at Gyrie's. We've been working with Crystal over there at the Parker location. They've got 9 locations all throughout the Denver metro area. Go to Gyrie's.com to schedule your in-home consultation today. GUIRYS.com. GUIRYS.com. Go see the great people at Gyrie's. You'll be sure to thank me later.
Get that personalized treatment without that big, giant, customized price. This is going to be cool. Yeah.
We'll continue. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show, talking a three-part series in Rocky Mountain Voice about the state targeting oil and gas and using all these regulations, state standards, in an effort to shut them down. Jared Polis even saying, I want to shut down the entire industry. Let's go to the phone lines. Ben in Morrison. Good morning, Ben. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Yeah, hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, it's hilarious that they're using KP Kaufman as the victim. We were building, my company was doing the design work for a water pipeline that was running up. It hasn't started construction yet, but it's going from Thornton basically up to through Weld County, and eventually hooking into like the Fort Collins Loveland area. And KP Kaufman is absolutely an inept company. They violate so many rules and regulations, and that's why they're probably not getting permits. They are just horrible. They don't know where their lines are. They don't mark them. They don't do anything right. So it's like we're using these guys that are trying to be the victim here, and they're not victims. They're basically not doing the things they're supposed to do. Basic stuff.
And I'm no KP Kaufman apologist. I'm working off of the three pieces that are here, but they spend a lot of time in these pieces going through KP Kaufman versus other oil and gas industries. The number of spills and releases from KPK assets is within the average range and below the range of other operators relative to the number of operating assets. I mean, they spend a lot of time in these three pieces detailing out KPK's performance against other oil and gas industries, and say they're right in line with everything. Yet these regulations or regulators have cited them almost 4 times more than anybody else, even though they're right in line with everybody else. What's your response to that?
They don't even know where their lines go. Most of the time, you do an 811 call if you're looking for a utility. We have to do a subsurface utility engineering report. They're called SUE reports when we're looking at installing anything that's going to go underground, because they don't want, some guy with a backhoe to just all of a sudden hit a line and, rip it up and destroy it. And they don't even know what direction their lines go. They don't know if it goes, east out of this well, or if it goes diagonal out to it, or north and then jogs over. They don't know the direction. When we call them, they've said, if you find the line, please let us know where it is. And we're like, you guys don't have a map or like anything? Like, no, we don't. Like, they are inept. They're the most inept oil company I've ever dealt with. I've dealt with Black Hills, I've dealt with Excel, I've dealt with tons of Suncor, a ton of other companies, and they at least have a general idea, even if they don't have like a tracer wire or something like that on the line.
All right, Ben,
they at least know.
Appreciate the perspective. Thanks so much. The articles say they're right in line with their research argues that they're right in line with everybody else. So we'll have to let the viewers make up their own decisions on this one. You can go read RockyMountainVoice.com to read their response. All right, we'll continue. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Wake up, Denver. There's no better place to start your morning than IHOP, where the pancakes are fluffy, the coffee is hot, and the smiles are endless. Wednesday, August 27th, join Jeff and Bill as they broadcast their show live from IHOP at 1595 South Colorado Boulevard in Denver. You're officially invited to be part of the excitement. Come grab your favorite breakfast and watch the Jeff and Bill Show in action from 6 to 10 a.m. Don't forget to try the special Jeff and Bill breakfast. Pancakes, any style eggs, and crispy bacon, all for just $7.10. It's a deal as good as their hot takes. All they need is you. Bring your appetite, bring your friends, and kick off your day with great food and great conversation. See you Wednesday, August 27th at IHOP.
Show. Go to RockyMountainVoice.com, Rocky Mountain Voice, to check out their 3-part series on how Colorado's Democrat leaders are essentially using regulation to shut down businesses, oil and gas, and saying it to their face.
Yeah, I was surprised on that Polis telling them, we want to shut you guys down, and points at KPK and says, you first. Dang. Not much wiggle room there.
Right, I know.
Okay. Wow.
Okay, welcome to the free state of Colorado.
Yeah.
All right, we'll continue. You're listening to Jeff and Bill.
710 KNUS.